paying for the tariffs?
Are they lying?
It's a simple problem in what's called tax incidence analysis in economics. The question of who bears the burden of a tariff or a tax.
Are these American producers in Texas lying when they say they're paying the tariffs?
Are not bearing the burden of the China tariffs, for example. We're seeing, look, we had this same conversation a year ago when everybody's hair was on fire saying that consumer prices were going to go up because we were putting a tariff on China. Didn't happen. China bore the burden of that.
What you're doing is you're relying on American companies not to pass those costs on.
Pardon me?
You're relying on American companies not to pass the costs on to consumers. American companies, they're paying the tariffs, so their profit margins are smaller.
It's determined by market conditions. If you want to get technical, it's the elasticities of supply and demand. But here's the point, Jim. Look, this is not an argument that we should be having. The real argument should be about the costs that illegal immigration imposes upon the United States of America and the fact that neither Congress or the Mexican government had lifted a finger to do anything about it, and that the president has very few options because Congress refuses to act. This, in my judgment, this is a brilliant strategic move to get the Mexicans to internalize some of the costs. Right now, the Mexican government makes money off illegal immigration. After the tariffs are put in place, the Mexican government will bear costs of that. We believe that these tariffs may not have to go into effect precisely because we have the Mexicans' attention. Vice President Pence will be meeting with them today. Secretary of State Pompeo and Ambassador Robert Lighthizer. So I think
let's set aside the facts for a moment
and look at the chessboard here. We have to solve this crisis. Do we agree on that, Jim? Do we agree on that? Is this a crisis?
Well, maybe you have
if we
sitting
can't agree on
lawmakers
that,
who don't agree that it's a national emergency.
Difficult.
Is it an issue? No question. I've interviewed the chief of the Customs and Border Patrol many times who describes it as crisis.
I believe her when she says crisis. Do you believe that there are 100,000 illegal immigrants trying to get into the United States moving through Mexico right now? Is that a fact or a factoid?
The numbers speak for themselves. And if we can agree on first principles,
that's unacceptable. I don't care whether you're on the left or the right or in the middle. That's unacceptable to the American people, and this president is going to do something about it.
I absolutely grant the numbers. We report the increasing numbers of illegal or undocumented asylum seekers coming across the border. Will you grant the fact that tariffs are not paid by foreigners, but they're paid by Americans? Will you grant that fact? I mean, listen to the Koch brothers, listen to Ted Cruz. Will you grant that it's a fact that that's where the tariffs are paid?
I'm just astonished that CNN would quote the Koch brothers as a reliable source for anything. The Koch brothers have fought everything that the left stands for.
We've had on our air.
They've fought this president on trade ever since he declared for
importers, business people in border states.
Source? Come on, Jim.
Come on, you watch CNN, Peter. We've had dozens of producers come on the air and say we pay the tariffs.
Let's not bring the Koch brothers into this.
Listen, the White House is meeting with Mexican officials today. Is there something that Mexico could do between now and Monday that will prevent the president from imposing 5% tariffs?
Absolutely. They can commit to taking all the asylum seekers and then applying Mexican laws, which are much stronger than ours. Look, here's the thing. If the people who are moving up with scripts to claim asylum from their narco-trafficker, human trafficker handlers simply understood that that script ain't going to work anymore getting into America, they're going to be in Mexico instead, that 100,000 will go to a trickle in the 21 days
so there
it
is
takes
a concession
for that message to get back.
Mexico can make today to prevent tariffs on Monday?
Absolutely. That's the number one on my list. The other two things are we have a 2,000-mile plus border with Mexico, very hard to police. The southern border, however, that Mexico has with Guatemala is only 150 miles, and better yet, it has both natural and artificial choke points where it is really easy to police. So a strong commitment from the Mexican government to put resources down there, and I'm sure this government will help them in any way possible. That's number two. And number three, look, there's a bunch of checkpoints that go from the southern to the northern border. Those checkpoints are designed to stop the flood, but instead it's the mordida, the bite, the corruption, the government officials who make money off this human trafficking. That has to stop. So the point here is, prior to President Trump announcing the possible imposition of these tariffs, Mexico profited from illegal immigration, both in the private sector and public.
So those three things, if you see progress on that today, we will watch for it.
That's
Peter,
what we're looking for, Jim. That's what we're looking for.
Let's keep up the conversation.
The acting Department of Homeland Security secretary made that very, very clear the first day these were announced. And this is not unreasonable, Jim. We're asking Mexico to put an end to this. They have tough laws. They need to enforce the laws, and they need to take the asylum seekers. It'll put an end to it. So let's do it.
Peter, let's keep